Hey friends, I think we may be live. I hope we are live. Are we live? Are you there? I'm here. This is Eric. This is that the right way to turn this? Nope, that way. Sorry, got to turn it away from my head a bit. It's Tuesday morning. It's 9:30 a.m. It's time for coffee on the porch. I haven't been here in a couple of weeks. I didn't let you know ahead of time that I was going to be here, so I don't know if you're going to even show up. But I thought I would sign on here this morning and see if anybody wants to show up and hang out. Good morning, Carol Ann. Welcome. Welcome on in. Come on in, friend. It's good to see you. I don't have the guitar this morning. I haven't, as many of you might imagine, I haven't been playing guitar for a couple of weeks now. And let me share this feed while you guys are gathering in, and we'll have a very subdued little time this morning if we can. COTP. And shared to the feed. There we go. All right. Good morning, Paula. Hey, good to see you too, friend. So it's been a lot going on, as you might imagine, and a lot of thoughts swirling in my head. Wow, smiling from Seattle. Wow. Okay. Is it cooler up there? Good morning, Nancy Bryant. I bet it is cooler where you are. I bet that's for sure. But that's a little cooler. So, I have a lot of thoughts in my head that I don't need to be sharing with you all this morning as we're trying to do this, trying to center myself down, speak my own advice here. As you know, my mother died 2 weeks ago, and I've been off for two weeks. We have not had coffee on the porch, and so this is our first time back in those 2 weeks. And Paula says, you watched the service for your mom yesterday. Oh, beautiful. Did you love it? Was it okay? What'd you think? We got a lot of really good compliments about it, and I got a lot of really good compliments about it. And so it's been a lot. It's been drinking from a fire hose. 59. Oh, so jealous, Carol Ann. 59 degrees in Seattle right now, friends. It is 88 degrees here. 88 degrees here. Thank you, Karen. Good morning. Thank you. I appreciate the hugs, Karen. 88 degrees here. Headed toward, what are we headed toward today? 100. Headed toward another 100-degree day. Good morning, Susan Baxley. Susan Baxley is a Kessler Park member, and I want to give a shout out to her because Susan was among the team of workers who came over here Friday night for a party we had in a gathering we had for my mom and for all our friends in lieu of having a traditional visitation at a funeral home. We all gathered over here, and it was I think a really lovely evening, and it was a lot of people from different parts of her life, from our lives. I think we had about 25 members of our extended family there. We had about 20 members or so that she knew from church. My sister Linda had about 10 friends there, and of course I had the the 10 friends and Kessler Park folks who helped out at the party. And so a shout out to Susan for helping and for jumping in early to volunteer to help. That was really super helpful to us. Thank you. Good morning, Rick Lang. Hey. Good morning, Robert Berger. Good morning, Linda Waring and Sally Hoover. Well, you're all coming in. It's great to see you. I got to tell you, I am going to apologize now. I have not been playing guitar. I have just not been. It's been drinking like a fire hose. Susan says this, always the best way to visit. Enjoy meeting friends and family. I'm glad you got to meet them too, Susan. I'm really glad. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a good way to do it. As we talked, Susan and I were part of a conversation that night where we said that the funeral home visitation is actually a relatively new thing that has started in about the last 100 years, maybe. I don't know. Let's say 100. It's relatively modern. For centuries and centuries, that kind of thing happened, but it happened in somebody's home, and the body would be there. I mean, this is how intense it would get. The body would be there present in the home, and all the family and friends would come by the home. So we didn't do that. They're not going to state of Texas isn't going to let us do that, and we didn't want to do that. But my sisters, especially my sister Diane, was really, I think, fair in pointing out that the funeral home visitation can be very cold at times. And so then I just said, well, I had said it, we wanted to have people over at some point during the weekend, wanted that to happen. What if we just had the visitation-like event at our place? And so, yeah, it turned out well. It was... it warmed our hearts to be able to host it here and to have everybody. And it was good to see everybody. It was great to see. I tell you, the thing that warmed my heart the most were my two Folkerth cousins. So I only have 5 first cousins. As opposed to Denise's family, where we stopped counting first cousins. This is not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. We stopped counting first cousins for Denise at 100 cousins. She has at least 100 first cousins. Well, I still remember when we were first dating and we were going to a big picnic out at a park in Irving or Grand Prairie. We're getting out of the car. She says, now, if I don't introduce you to somebody, don't be offended, because it probably just means I don't know them either. It's like, wait, what? You don't know your cousins? How does that work? So my dear cousins on the Folkerth side, we never saw them as much because the Mays cousins, my mom's cousins, her actual 3 nieces, lived here in Dallas with them. So we saw them a lot. We really became quite close to them growing up. But the 2 Mays girls, and now women, they lived in Massachusetts and then Colorado, so it was a ways away. We were lucky to see them once or twice a year at best. So it was really, and their mom died. Our aunt, their mom died during COVID, actually. So yeah. Anyway, so it was great to see them, and that among the people that I was happiest to see that night, it was them. It was so good to have them, and so good to have them in our house. And we said it may be the last time we're all together, which is really kind of a sad thing to think about. Paula said it was nice to learn about mom's life, family life, your life. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. Carol Ann says, flying home from my daughter's today, not quite ready for the heat. The good news, it's slightly cooler. We've been high 90s to 100, 101 for several days, and haven't been at 106, 105, 107. Haven't had any of that stuff. It does feel like there have been clouds. We had rain for 2 days. I don't know if you were here for that, Carol Ann. We had 2 days of rain last week. So it does feel like the heat, the tiniest bit of hope that the heat is going to crack here at some point, the real excessive heat. And meanwhile, Nancy Bryant is pointing out that it's 66 in Fort Collins. Good morning, Robert Berger, Bagels and Lox on the Porch. Really sorry that I couldn't be on last week, buddy. I'm sorry you rushed home for that. I'm glad you're here. Rick Lang says, rode my bike yesterday to Irving Mall and back. Good morning, Tara. You guys had a good time down. You guys had a good trip. I saw those pictures. Good. Well, we're just recovering here. There's a lot to do. We've had a lot to do over at my mom's apartment. We had the event Friday, and then we had the graveside service at 2 o'clock Saturday, which was really tough. It's always the hardest part. The graveside. And then we had the memorial service at 3 o'clock at North Haven. And as I said, it did my heart good to see how many people showed up for that. It was really, really beautiful. And then we had a small, quiet family dinner, small meaning the 3 siblings, Saturday night. And then we had a brunch with our out-of-town cousins Sunday morning. So it was a very busy weekend. And then Monday, I literally was a zombie, just fried. And Tuesday, I actually did get to the church for a bit and have been doing a few things around here. But I gotta tell you, it's slow. It's a combination of grief and just the busyness of things, trying to keep things in order and remember what we have to do. As many of you know, dealing with the estates of a loved one, there are a lot of details to care for, and we've been trying to do those best we can in the midst of the grief. That's what makes it tough. But man, it was so good to see people on Saturday at the service. I got to tell you the story. This is absolutely true. Many years ago, 20 years ago, my last surviving great aunt died. Her name was Monelle Hardy, Aunt Monelle, Monelle. All the girls on their side of the family had very exotic French sounding names: Lurline, Monelle, Von Seal, Marcial. Not Von Seal. I can't remember the fourth. Vaudine, not Von Seal. Vaudine. I should remember that. Hey, Robert Graham. Good to see you, buddy. I got your text, and I am interested. Let me just say that in what you were offering. I haven't talked to the judge, so but I got your text. I will get back with you about that you wrote about. Anyway, Monelle was the last of her generation, just as my mom was the last of this generation. And I did Monelle's service, and I remember that was honestly, if I'm being honest, and this may sound weird to you, emotionally, that was the hardest service I ever did. I think a big part of that has to do with being younger. Just not having as much experience as I do now. Sally, see what Sally's saying? I agree with that. It is good to see Robert. So part of it is being older, but then part of it was, that was the first time in my life where I'd done a funeral and I looked out over the crowd and it was all my family. It was all of them. Back then it was a big group of May's cousins that had all gone to the First Methodist Church in Atlanta for this service. And I looked down and my mom is bawling and my sisters are bawling and all the young cousins and old cousins and in between, everybody's bawling because, oh my Lord. And I just barely made it through that service about 20 years ago. And the second it got over, this is a true story, I went back into the bathroom and I just bawled my head out. I let out all those tears that I wanted to cry with my family. And I realized then that I shouldn't have presided over the whole service. That was the main learning. But that I could have said some things about her that were helpful, and I'm glad I'd done that part. But I came out of the bathroom, I'm still kind of crying, and my mom is standing right there. And I looked at her and I said, I am not doing that for your service. And she just kind of looked at me the way she usually does, and she went, oh, okay. I think she knew that I would come around to that, honestly. And so we had two of my really fierce women clergy friends who presided, and I just did the eulogy piece. And I want to talk a little bit about that today. I will tell you, by the way, feel free. I don't have my guitar. I might just pick it up and play a song off the top of my head, but I don't even know that I'll do that, honestly. I have not been playing guitar for these more than 2 weeks, so it's been a lot to cover, to think about. I picked it up a bit last night for the first time in those 2 weeks. But I have been out of the office an awful lot. I was out of the office for some days before, so I'm super grateful to the very careful patience of the Kessler Park people. They've been incredibly patient with me and with everything these past weeks. So a big thanks to them. You were sick all weekend. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. All right, one moment. I did just think of something I wanted to do. Hang on. So, well, I don't know if there's a key in this. There probably is not. So last night, I discovered that Frederick Beatner has died. I'm looking to see if I have the other book here. I guess I don't. Well, that's unfortunate. I was going to read you some Frederick Beatner quotes this morning, but I don't think I have that book with me. Well, very sad to hear of Beatner's death. I do have this one book, which is a book of meditations. And it's this one's called Listening to Your Life. This is basically a year-long book of meditations that you can read of Frederick Beatner's words, and it's really nice. It's a good book. So I commend that to you. But unfortunately, it doesn't have a index. I don't think. Oh wait. Well, it does. It has citations. This isn't going to help me the way this is laid out. This is meant to be a devotional book. You just pick it up and you just read it straight through. You know, that's what you do. So, here's one that I know I like. Click, clack. Oh. Well, I don't know that I'll read that, but Frederick Beatner died, and I'm remembering him, and that makes me sad too, because of any Christian writer, he's been the best for me, the favorite for me for decades, since I was a very, very young preacher. I think I do have some of his quotes. Let's see if I can get to that here that I might be able to find. Is this exciting for y'all to watch me try to find my Frederick Beatner quotes? All right, I'm going to do it this way. I know this is very exciting. This is a very exciting video today, friends. Very, very high-level stuff here. All right, I know I have some quotes here in some of these sermons. In fact, actually, just on August 11th, I quoted, there we go. I had a Beatner quote at the very end. This is a good one. This is Beatner's quote on prayer. Beatner is talking, I think I actually mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I think I may have already cited this. He's talking about prayer, and he's talking about the idea that we may not get what we wish or ask for. What do we do then? What's the deal? What happens when a father prays for a boy to be healed and the boy is not healed? What happens? So he says this, Beatner says this, what about the boy who isn't healed? When listened to or not listened to, the prayers go unanswered. Who knows? Just keep praying. Jesus says, remember the sleepy friend or the crooked judge. Even if a boy dies, keep on beating the path to God's door, because the one thing you can be sure of is down the path you beat, even with your most half-cocked and halting prayers, the God you call upon will finally come. And even if he does not bring you the answer you want, he will bring you himself. And maybe in the secret heart of all our prayers, that is what we are really praying for. So that's Frederick Beatner, and I cited that in a worship service just a month ago. And I'm thinking about this, so let me just bounce off of this live and in person. This is impromptu coffee on the porch this morning. And I'll just tell you a little bit about my experience of my mom's death and prayer and what happened there. So we started to know that Mom had memory issues during, I think I've told you all this, during Thanksgiving, Christmas time. It was obvious something was wrong. The main thing was she'd lost a lot of weight, It was very weak. It was really hard for her to walk around. And she was somewhat unaware of how much she had changed. So we knew something was wrong. Took us a while to get her into the doctor, but we finally got her in the doctor. And the first thing they diagnosed were some memory problems. Obviously, she failed a cognitive test. It was obvious that she was having some sort of mental problems. So we got that diagnosed. And then what happened was Ash Wednesday. And I've told you about this, I believe, that we had a Ash Wednesday service outside on Ash Wednesday, and I knew something was really wrong. She'd lost almost 30 pounds, just wasn't herself, didn't know what it was, but knew something was wrong. And so I waited till we were outside around the fire pit at Kessler Park. It was beautiful. Put the ashes on our heads and had the fire going. It was a cool night, but it wasn't. Wow. Can you hear that? That's our router. I don't know. It sounds like it's snoring. Never heard it make that sound before. That's very odd. Anyway, that night at Kessler Park around the fire pit, I stayed for an hour and a half probably after everybody had left, and I just let the embers die down. I watched them die down, and I cried a lot because I knew something was wrong. I knew something was really wrong with Mom. And I just prayed to God, and I said, if this is what I fear it is, there's something really wrong going on here, let her passing be quick, if that's what's going to happen, and let her not be in pain. And 3 days later, we took her in for scans, which were mainly for the brain and body to try to figure out the memory things, but they revealed a huge mass in her colon that was determined would be unlikely inoperable and likely to kill her within 6 months. Just a big shock. That was 3 days after Ash Wednesday. And so then we settled in for this last phase. We found some caregivers for her. My sisters, I can't even describe how much they came up to help out. Their sacrifice was unbelievable, unbelievably amazing. They came more than I think I thought they might come. I thought they might come every 2 to 3 weeks. They came almost every other week to Dallas, and I'm glad they got that time with her, really am. But it went quick. It was 4 months and a week since she went into hospice when she died. And she was not in pain. She was not in any significant pain throughout the entire time. And the doctors and the nurses were astounded by that, absolutely astounded by that, couldn't believe it. Now, I'm not, I was going to say stupid, but I want to be unkind to myself. I'm not the kind of theologian who would say, well, see here, God gave me what I prayed for. I mean, that's not the way I think prayer works. I just very convinced that's not the way prayer works. But I will say we are grateful for a peaceful and painless passing for Mom. Very, very grateful for that. I've been getting ready ever since then. I'm just going to tell you some stuff that I've been doing these last few months that helps us get ready. Helped me get ready. The day we had that appointment with we had a couple more appointments. The final appointment we had when she decided to go on to hospice, when we and her jointly made the decision that she would go on hospice care. We went back to her apartment, and I immediately drove to the cemetery where my father was buried. And I had a talk with him, and I said, well, Dad, Mom's going to be here soon. And I was bawling my eyes out, as you might imagine. And then I walked around the grounds there at Sparkman. And as it turns out, I found the grave of a woman whose memorial service I had done 20 years before. Not 50 feet from my parents' grave. I didn't know it was there. I had been to that spot before either Mom or Dad died, but I didn't realize it was that spot. I didn't realize it was their spot. I thought, wow. So I talked to her. I said, Winky, good to see you. Mom's going to be here soon. Take care of her. And I asked Dad, take care of her. We'll take care of her till she gets here. And then I walked all over the grounds. Stepmom has a first cousin named Joe, who was about not even a quarter mile off to the left. And I went over to Joe's grave, and I said, Joe, Mom's going to be here soon. I'm bawling the whole time, by the way, just bawling my eyes out. Mom's going to be here soon. We'll take care of her. You take care of her when she gets here. And as I went through the cemetery, I saw the graves of all sorts of other people we know. People we knew from Highland Park, from SMU. Saw Ruth, I can't think of Ruth's last name. She was the provost at SMU. Saw several other people that I knew personally, and I told them all, my mom's going to be here soon. Will you take care of her? Bawling my eyes out, by the way, for like an hour doing this. It was very healing. There were some famous people there. Ross Perot is right next door, which is weird. Anyway, at the very end, I was getting ready to go. And was walking back to my car, and a bus pulls up. This is absolutely true. A bus pulls up full of high school kids from Lutheran High School. Why is that significant? Well, friends, Lutheran High School was created from the tiny little Lutheran schools like Our Redeemer, which is the school I went to through the 7th grade. Our Redeemer Lutheran, which is across from North Park Mall. It was a group of Lutheran high school students and their teacher who had come to the graveside because it was around Ash Wednesday, had come to the graveside to learn about death, which I thought was amazing. And so he asked me, and I said, "You're not going to believe this, you guys, but I actually know people at Lutheran High School." And we talked about the people we knew. And I said, there's another world where I might have gone to Lutheran High School. So I'm glad to see you kids. And I said, I'm a Methodist pastor, and I'm here because my mom is probably going to die soon, and that's just a part of life. That's just a part of the way it goes. That is just part of the way it all goes. So, anyway, it was a powerful moment for me to experience. So I've been preparing ever since then, and then going back even decades, I've been preparing, and Mom has been preparing. She, as I said in the memorial service, she never expected to live to 87. She, her mother died when she was a young woman. And Mom, when she had kind of a midlife crisis around 55, 60, where she suddenly realized she had no roadmap for what was going to come next. And so the reality is that my mom kind of got something like 30, 40 bonus years over what she thought she might get. Her mother got sick at about age 50 and died at age 60. Had breast cancer for 10 years in the 60s when it was horrible, horrible treatment for that disease. So she was dying. My grandmother was dying while my mother was getting married, while I was a small boy, all through that. And it was a very hard time. But I think Mom really decided to live with no regrets. And she went back to school, and she got a paralegal degree, and she went back to work. And I didn't know this till this week, but she had a beautiful talk with my sister Linda, saying that my name is Pat, is what my sister remembers. You call me mommy or mom or wife. Your father calls me wife, but my name is Pat. And that really the whole second half of her life was her living into that and becoming even bolder in old age, which I was really proud of her, going back to work and scratching that itch and not leaving it unresolved. And so she taught us how to do that, and she taught us not to take a day for granted. And I learned that from her. And so I know in my bedrock being that she died with no regrets, and that she died with nothing unresolved, all of that. So, yeah. So it's been a journey, and it's a continuing journey of grief, but it's a good journey to be on. So thank you for allowing me the time to just come and decompress that with you all this morning, and for those of you who hadn't seen the service or heard all of that, let me talk about my mom and my journey of grief, of joy and sorrow, and how it's all wrapped up together. Mom was so good at holding the grief of other people. I think that maybe I can read this now, but I'm not entirely sure. I may still bawl, but I do want to read this to you. This shows you my mom's view of grief. So when I was at North Haven 20 years ago now, a young man named Mark Daves died. He left two small boys around the age of Maria and his loving wife, whose name is Vicki Cheatwood. She's a playwright in Dallas. And Mom, we found in her papers a whole stack of letters that she wrote to grieving people. And she would say in the letter, I know what it's like to lose somebody. I lost my mom. Later she would say, I know what it's like to lose somebody. I lost my husband. And she, instead of denying her grief, she moved right into it, really deeply, in a very deep way. And she taught me a lot about that, about how that's okay and that it's okay to be sad. So here is a section with Vicky's permission. I've been reading this section, and this is a more full section of what my mom wrote to Vicky. Dear Vicky, Caleb, and Ethan, this is what Mom wrote 20 years ago. Dick and I were so saddened to hear of Mark's death. Even though Mark had suffered a long time, it's still hard to let him go. Losing a loved one, spouse, or parent is not like other losses. It leaves a hole in your heart, which time gradually makes bearable. You three took such good care of him in his illness, and when Dick and I saw Mark at church events, it was obvious how proud he was of you boys and how much he loved all three of you. It's okay to be sad. I remember the first time I traveled to my hometown after my mother passed away. When I walked into the bathroom and I saw the shower cap sitting in its usual place, I burst into tears. As Eric said, tears are nothing to be ashamed of. They show you care. Actually, I should say, that's actually not what I said. That's how Mom interpreted what I said. It's not false. Tears are nothing to be ashamed of. They show you care. That's the way Mom would say it. What I said was, if you could get through the death of a loved one and not cry, that would be weird. That's what I said. It's just a way to reframe the fact that tears are understandable. But there will also be times of joy when you feel Mark's presence with you. A beautiful sunset, a birthday party, an accomplishment, a family gathering. He'll be there. That's the first time that I have read that without bawling my eyes out. And those are my mom's words about what it means to overcome grief. So I'm clinging to those. I'm clinging to those today. I don't have a whole lot more to say to you today. I want to read another Frederick Beatner quote that I have found while we were sitting here. This is my favorite Frederick Beatner quote. I don't even know which book this was in. He was a preacher, a Presbyterian preacher and a writer. I'm a preacher and a semi-writer. I like to write. And this is from a very old book of his, which sort of the whole point of what he sees about life itself. He said, if I were called upon to state in a few words the essence of everything I was trying to say, both as a novelist and as a preacher, it would be something like this. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery that it is, in the boredom and pain of it no less than in the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. In the final analysis, all moments are key moments. Even the hardest moments we have are key moments to us and make us who we are, shape our lives. But I love the way he says this. Touch, taste, smell your way. He doesn't say feel. You notice the senses he doesn't say listen or feel. He talks about the senses we don't talk about as much. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of life. Because all moments are key moments and life itself is grace. I know, Sally, I love that reading. It really is. It's up on the wall in my study. It's up on the wall in my study right now. Not at work, at the church. And has been up on my wall for all these years. So, thank you, Robert. Love and grace from many people surrounding you. We all love you. Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate y'all being willing to just allow me to sit here. I think gradually we'll get back into a more ordinary coffee on the porch in the coming weeks. I think for this morning, this is probably about all I could do, was to get up here. I didn't have any music prepared or coherent thoughts other than to just share what's happening. I hope we keep all of us in prayer. I don't know if Paula is still here. Paula is on her own journey. And Paula, I'm thinking a lot about you. I'm sorry I haven't been able to check in with you, but I am thinking a lot about you. And so we are thinking about you on your journey, friend, and we're glad you're here, and we're with you, all of us at this distance that we have, but surrounded by the Spirit through this ability to gather. So I'll just say that one thing that I wanted to lift up this morning. In the meantime, I think I'm going to sign off a little short this morning. Hope you understand that. I was glad to be able to get on. Paula says she's taking one day at a time. You can go to Paula's Facebook page where she is. She's talking about some of this stuff. Karen says, happy to sit with you here this morning. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a lot to be able to do it. Okay, friends. Love you. Love you all. Breathe in and breathe out. Drink some coffee. Take a moment. Thank you again to Susan and to everyone who helped us out in person, and for all of you who are there wherever you are across the internet tubes. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being there. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it, y'all. All right, we will see you next time. I'm not going to do any of the typical sign-off stuff except to say this has been Coffee on the Porch. God bless you and keep you until